Welcome into the Sunday night roundtable on Sunday afternoon. I'm Zach Lyons. You can follow me on Twitter at FWordsPod. We have Justin Graver. You can see him on at Titans Film Room. We have Robert Greenlaw at Rob on Broadway. And then we have Taylor Gamble joining us at Taylor Gamble. I'm not entirely sure. I guess I should have figured that out before I got here. But
Taylor R. Gamble.
Taylor R. Gamble.
Yes.
All right. So Titans win 31-10. Everybody's filtering in. Make sure that you share this on your Twitter feed, your Facebook feed, your Twitch stream. Is that what Twitch does? I'm not really a big Twitch guy, but make sure you get in there and share it because this is going to be a very fun show. It's going to be filled with probably some expletives, a little bit technical difficulties, and you may even see a drunk Ryan automatically pop in at some point. Who knows? So tell us how you feel about the game so far. Make sure you put it in the chat. Head over to BroadwaySportsMedia.com and check out all of our post-game articles that we will have, and it will be awesome. I just burped a little bit, so enjoy that. So to get us started, Titans 31-10. Derrick Henry has a massive near historical game, 26 carries, 215 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And the reason I say that it's near historical because so far versus running backs that are in the Hall of Fame, he actually has one more 200-yard game than any of those individual running backs, including LaDainian Tomlinson. He also, since 2018, has 4 200-yard rushing games. I believe 2 of them, maybe even possibly 3, but at least 2 of them are against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which means that the rest of the NFL combined has 4 200-yard rushing games. That's insane performance from one individual who is the pinnacle of manhood and masculinity. His name is Derrick Henry. He is the king. Taylor, start us off. What did you think about this Derrick Henry game?
I think Derrick Henry honestly plays his best football against Jacksonville. He always puts up the best numbers. He has the most explosive plays against Jacksonville. He always plays well against them. I know you said about the 200-yard game, but he also had he's going for his back-to-back rushing title. And he would be the first person to do that since 2006, 2007, which I think was who you mentioned earlier, LaDainian Tomlinson. Yes.
Yeah, it was performance you can't really top. He finds new ways to impress me, and it's not that he's going for 200 yards that's impressive. It's what him going 200 yards actually means. I mean, I didn't know that any of these other stats even existed. The Hall of Fame stat that I just saw on the TV before we came on, and then, of course, the 4 since 2018. Robert Greenlaw, I mean, I don't know what kind of shirt you're wearing. William Talbot's comment is covering it up, but it's very Houston Texans-ish, so I feel like next time you should change.
It's very St. Louis Cardinals-ish, actually.
Ugh, that's even worse.
Oh, please. So it kind of felt like he started off slow, but then I looked at the box score and he had 77 yards in the first half, and then it kind of felt inevitable. Then he had that big long touchdown run at the end of the first half. He got over 120 yards. It just kind of felt like, well, this game's over really early as soon as he busted that, because once he gets going and he looks like that in a game, there's not much you can do to stop him, and we know Jacksonville has no answer for him.
Well, I'm going to ask this question to you, Justin Graver. Who had the worst week? Buck Rising for saying that Derrick Henry and James Robinson are the same, or Ben Baldwin, who is big into analytics and said that Daniel Jones and Ryan Tannehill are the same? Who had the worst week?
I don't think that was Ben Baldwin.
It was Steven Ruiz.
Oh, that's the same person.
Yeah, well, not really at all. But yeah, I think that one's worse because Ryan Tannehill was amazing today and Daniel Jones was awful today. And I'm glad you threw that question to me because I wanted to point out that it's important when Tennessee does this. They built their lead with Ryan Tannehill through the air, and then they maintained it and extended it with Derrick Henry running wild, as we see him behind Zach right now. Derrick Henry had obviously a huge day, but it was Ryan Tannehill, the flea flicker early on, the perfect pass on a rope down the sideline to A.J. Brown in the end zone, who, of course, one-handed catch with the defender grabbing his arm. So Ryan Tannehill, Daniel Jones, meanwhile, who I actually like the Giants today. That was a horrible pick. Giants were terrible. Daniel Jones fumbled on like the first play of the game. He fumbles every single game. He's awful. The Giants offense did nothing today against a not very good Cardinals defense. So to compare the two at all is honestly insane to me. I mean, they're not even close to the same quarterback. Like maybe somewhat stylistically, but even then, no. But also, James Robinson, I mean, he did have that 46-yard run in the second half, and I bet Buck was just like, yes, see.
I don't know. I don't think he was really looking to take a victory lap after him getting constantly called out this since the game started. I think it's Steven Ruiz. I mean, I get what Buck's trying to say. He's not really slandering Derrick. He's slandering the idea of paying a running back, right? Which I think Derrick Henry is the exception to the rule, which I've maintained since last year when people tried to say, one of them being Trace Wynn of Chat 10 Sports, saying you shouldn't pay because of all these other running backs. But we all should have known that Derrick Henry is the exception to the rule. So I go with Steven Ruiz as the worst one because nobody's as terrible as Daniel Jones, except for maybe baby giraffe Mike Glennon, which we saw play today. And let's talk about that. This Titans defense got him benched for Gardner Minshew. So, Taylor, what did you see from this Titans defense? And do you think that put in Gardner Minshew was the right call?
I think the Titans defense played extremely well, especially the cornerbacks, which I didn't expect since we still have so many injuries and Breon Borders injured as well. I think they all stepped up to make plays, especially Malcolm Butler. He had a really good game. They targeted him a couple times, but not many yards were gained on Malcolm Butler, and he also had that one interception. So I think our defense, especially just our pass defense, really just put that pressure on him and made it to where he just couldn't make the throws, couldn't complete any throws because we weren't giving him anything.
Yeah, it was probably the most physical game we've seen from the Titans cornerbacks this year. So I definitely think it was very impressive. And I want to talk about this Simp Biscuit comment. We got lucky Minshew wasn't in. Now, Greenlaw, before we jumped on and went live, we talked about how the Jaguars' offense stalled because they got away from James Robinson. Do you think it would have mattered if Minshew was in or not?
I don't think the result would have been different, but I do think it would have been a closer game. Glennon's trying to take the top off the defense the entire game. He's taking these deep shots all over the place. Minshew, his game is to take what the defense gives him, and you could see that as soon as he came in, they started moving the ball because he's checking it down. He's taking these 5-yard gains and letting the receivers do the work. He's keeping the play alive by scrambling. Glennon doesn't give you any of that. He just gives you deep balls. That's it. So I think it was the wrong decision from the beginning for the Jaguars, and I got really pissed because I have James Robinson on my fantasy team, and every time they got within 30 yards of the end zone, they pull him out for the guy who got hurt by the jugs machine and the guy at the end of the game who almost died from the field being so crappy.
Yeah. How do you get injured from the jugs machine? And why wasn't the story national news? Because I was totally surprised. And I heard it, and then Taylor brings it up in our group chat, and I'm thinking, what even happened? But we'll break down what could have happened in a jugs machine accident. I want to talk about this other Simp Biscuit comment about need AJ to wear the Julio jersey every pregame. Graver, do you think there is something to this? And follow-up question, AJ Brown's better than Julio Jones, correct?
In 2020, yes. AJ Brown is better than Julio Jones in 2020. I don't know if you saw this stat, but they are tied for fastest receiver, fewest games to reach 17 career touchdowns. So they obviously have the ability to score. Here it is. Total receiving touchdowns, first 27 career starts. AJ Brown 17, Julio Jones also 17. So
fun fact about that: Julio Jones has only scored 3 touchdowns since those 17.
I was going to say that's probably his last touchdown was the 17th.
But I mean, AJ's like Julio with better yak ability, right? I mean, Julio maybe a better route runner right now, but that's something AJ Brown can continue to get better and better at. And the drops happen, like whatever. You remember the drops because you're like, oh my gosh, he dropped what could have been a play, and he dropped a third down play in this game, but it didn't really matter because the Titans faked a punt right after that, which was awesome to see. Hooker taking the direct snap, running for a first down, and then a 3-and-out right after that, so it didn't even matter. But it was cool that they did it anyway. And AJ Brown's drop didn't cost him anything. But even with the drop, you take that drop when it comes with the other plays he makes. The one-handed catch, obviously. Even the play later in the game where he just the whole pile just pushed forward to get a first down, keep the clock ticking, so the Titans could run out the clock and win the game. And yes, I have noticed that Jonnu Smith has become a non-factor. Jonnu Smith had 20 receiving yards, I think. One of those was at the end of the first half to set the Titans up for that 61-yard field goal. How about Gostkowski? 61 yards? That's incredible.
And I will say, because that was going to be my next subject, was what's up with Jonnu Smith? I know that he's been injured, and I know they're trying to get him involved, but it doesn't seem like they're creating a lot of opportunities for him. Greenlaw, do you have any theory as to why Jonnu Smith is? Do you think he stole Mike Vrabel's sunglasses at some point? I know you are big on conspiracy theories like that.
I don't think he stole it. I think it was all injury, but it was encouraging, like Sim Piskett said, to see him get a snap out of the backfield too. I think they're going to be a little bit more creative how they use him as he gets healthier. So him being completely off the injury report at one point this week was really good to see too. So I think it's a health thing. And also they didn't need to go to him. They had Henry going crazy. They had AJ Brown going crazy.
Taylor, what kind of improvements do you need to see from this team going forward? We saw a lot of improvements today, but what do you think is something they can improve upon going forward to maintain their status as contenders?
So Corey Davis had that fumble today, which actually makes the 4th turnover for us in the past 2 games. But for the first 12 games of the season, we only had 5 total turnovers. And I feel like that's why we did so well. And I feel like that's why we struggle is because of turnovers. And I think if we get better on fumbles lost and throwing interceptions, then we would have a better chance at perhaps going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I would also say I would think that what we need to improve upon is our special teams. I don't think our special teams has been that great, and I'm talking about punt coverage, punt returning, all of it. I would also like to see, not see, and still when the game is in competitive modes, Derrick Henry off the field. I mean, we saw it last week when they did the Aaron Brewer third down pass, and then they could have just ran it twice with Derrick Henry instead. And then today we saw it on another short yardage situation, and I know that on third down it was a hurry up offense to get there, but it does not take that long for you to switch out running backs. What are you going to lose switching out running backs and putting in your best offensive weapon? Justin, what do you see as something that needs to be improved upon on this Titans team?
I mean, for me, it's always still going to be the pass rush because even today, they got Glennon a little flustered at the end of the first half. They got Minshew moving around a little bit, but it's just not good enough. We saw Harold Landry come so close, and he's diving for the ball, and Minshew fumbled it, but Harold Landry didn't even touch it. But what would have been great there to not fall down first and actually make the sack. And Landry almost had Glennon on a free rush in the first half, and he let him get away, and Glennon threw the ball away, which is still a good play for the defense. But where are the sacks? This team didn't have a sack today, did they? Did they? No sacks today. This team doesn't get sacks. They're going to have the fewest sacks in franchise history for this franchise on this pace right now. And against, Aaron Rodgers in 2 weeks, if you can't get a little bit of pressure on him, you're done for. So if this team can't find ways to get to the quarterback, they are not going far in the playoffs. Even if they have, I mean, when you're up by so many points like they were today, and the other team is forced to pass as much as they are, and you still don't get a single sack, that is horrible.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks in a row with 0 sacks, and I long for the days of Brian Arakpo and Derek Morgan. I never thought I would say that in my life, but I long for those days on defense. Greenlaw, same question to you. What do you feel that we could do that maybe has been talked about or has been talked about already that we can improve upon to maintain our status as contenders?
I think the defense just needs to improve. I think we saw it as soon as Minshew came in. There was a lot of issues defensively, and if it's happening against Minshew, it's going to happen against Mahomes. It's going to happen against Rodgers. It already happened against Big Ben for a half, so we've seen it play out. So that would be my biggest concern going forward.
So we're obviously all Las Vegas Raiders fans, and we probably are all going to be watching that game closely. What do you feel about our chances, the Titans' chances going forward, as we maybe face the Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, and Houston Texans down the stretch? We obviously know the Detroit Lions are on a high right now. They have a new offensive-minded head coach. We know what the Green Bay Packers are, and then we have the Texans, who the Texans, I think, is kind of just throw it away. Like, I'm not too concerned about it. So, Taylor, what is your confidence level? 3 games left. What do you see happening with those 3 games?
I think we take it at least 2 more wins this season. The Green Bay game is kind of like the toss-up because it just depends on which team shows up that day. Honestly, just how well our defense plays, and also injuries. Who all we have back by then, or who's still out. I wanted to add another thing about the defense. We need Kevin Byard to make plays. Kevin Byard has been silent all season, and he's one of our main playmakers on the defense, especially when it comes to pass coverage, because he's a ball hog, like he's all about the interceptions, and he hasn't had a single interception this season, and he hasn't really made any game-changing plays at all. And that's just like he's like one of our superstar players, and I think that's hurting our defense a lot too. But confidence level wise, as long as everything's going the way that it is, we don't get any new injuries, and everyone plays well, and we are like covering on defense, covering the receivers, not letting them get, 4 or 5 deep balls a game. I think we could definitely win all the next 3 of our games. I don't think it would be too difficult. I don't think it's too far of a stretch.
I think that Adoree Jackson coming back will be huge, and I would put some money down that Adoree Jackson is going to be back on the Detroit game, because he did end with practicing, even though he wasn't active. I think that they're going to give him a full week of practice, and I think he'll come back next week. Because I think I would rather have Adoree Jackson versus Detroit than Adoree Jackson's first game being against like Davante Adams at Green Bay. Justin, you're shaking your head no. Why do you disagree?
I just think that that's not how this team rolls. This team takes people back slow as hell. And Adoree was limited Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week. On Friday, he practiced in a non-contact quarterback jersey. So I don't think he's only a week away, because that's just not how this team rolls. Darrington Evans, inactive today. He brought back full practice participant all week. Didn't even play today. They've been doing this all season with guys working them back so slowly that I just think you're going to see limited for Adoree again next week. And his first game will be back against Davante Adams, which I agree with you. I don't like that strategically, but hey, you know what? That might be best for him. Throw him back out there in a game that, like, you don't have to win. It'd be great if you won for playoff seeding purposes, for taking week 17 off potentially purposes, but you don't have to win that game. Get Adoree back right away in the fire against some of the best competition you'll face in the NFL, so that he's ready to go when the playoffs start 2 weeks later.
I think it's worth noting that it'll probably be Butler on Davante Adams, and then Adoree would be on the Lazard King or someone like that.
Probably.
Yeah, it could be.
let's talk about this comment. Let's just save Adoree till playoffs. The thing is, like, do you want his first game back, his first live action in over a year, to be in a playoff game? I don't.
Yeah, I
want
don't.
him to
That's
get
why I want
seasoned.
him. I think the Lions game would be the smart move if he's
Speaking
ready
of, okay.
to come back. I will say this: we are a 9-win team for at least right now, the 4th year in a row, if I'm not mistaken, and that means we're guaranteed a winning record, right? Fourth winning record in a row. Fifth winning record in a row. Greenlaw, why should everybody start celebrating a 9-win team, but why are we going to end up 9-7?
Well, I'm not going to answer the second part. I don't think they're going to end up 9-7. I think it's good that you got a winning season, but you have to make sure that it's 10 or 11 or 12 wins and not just 9. I mean, you can't have a letdown game next week against the Lions. That's as bad as losing to the Bengals, really. So you can't have a letdown there. You could excuse a Packers loss, although those are the teams you're going to have to beat if you want to make a serious playoff run. And then you should beat the Texans. They're horrible.
Update on the Colts.
Yeah.
Colts are winning 10-0 right now.
Oh, God.
The Lions are winning 7-0 right now.
That is true.
That sucks.
So let's talk about this. What is your confidence level, Taylor, going into this Detroit Lions game on a scale from 1 to 10? And in fact, before you answer, I would like for our listeners to put in their confidence level. 1, not so confident. 10, very, very confident. Your confidence level, listeners, going into this Lions game. But while we'll get to your confidence level rankings after we get to Taylor's first.
I'm gonna say a 9. I'm not gonna say a 10 because I'm not 100% sure, but I am pretty confident. I don't feel like any of the players that play for the Lions pose a huge threat to us. And like I know the Bengals suck and we lost to the Bengals, but they had Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's not bad, but like Matt Stafford's not good.
How dare you? How dare you?
I'm not as worried about Matt Stafford as I was about Joe Burrow with the Bengals.
I am very worried about Matt Stafford, by the way. That's
Matt
the only
Stafford's
reason
gonna-
I'm concerned
He's
about
going to
this
carve
team.
up this defense. I mean, have you seen this defense try to play against a good quarterback, an average quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, Dell goes with an 8, and I think that's where I lie. I lie maybe 7, because this is a Titans team that we have seen that cannot be consistent, right? We've seen them lose to Joe Burrow, and I know that Taylor says that, Joe Burrow is better than Matt Stafford, but that offensive line is not better than the offensive line the Detroit Lions have, and we've seen for the last 2 weeks that we got 0 pass rush on them, and basically, essentially 0 pass rush on Joe Burrow, too. So right now, I think that Matt Stafford, especially if Kenny Golladay is back, and then you got TJ Hawkinson up the middle, and I know that Rashaan Evans had some crazy epiphany that he was a pass defending linebacker today. But I worry about this Lions offense. Now, the key is the Lions defense, and that's why I'm at an 8, because this Titans offense is going to snatch the souls of the Lions defense, and it is going to be glorious. This will be a game where I bet the over starts out at about 52 or 55 and will creep up from there, because there's no reason that it shouldn't be a super high scoring game with probably a 35-28 kind of game score to it. So confidence rankings from you, Justin Graver. What is your confidence ranking?
Are we talking in this game against Detroit or in the team overall?
In Detroit. We're still on Detroit.
First Detroit, I mean, shit. Can I say 10?
You can if you want. Just remember, this is recorded.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans have a knack for not showing up, but also, like, Mike Vrabel's Titans have, yes, they had that Bengals game, but usually they come to play in these matchups where they are the clear better team. And at this point in the season, you need to show that you are one of the playoff teams against what is clearly not a playoff team that just fired their head coach. So we'll see. I mean, Detroit's winning right now, right? But I am scared that their offense could put up points on the Titans defense. But are they going to be able to stop Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Johnny Smith? No.
Yeah, Greenlaw?
Devontae Adams just scored a long touchdown.
Yeah.
Which he always does every single game.
Yeah, exactly. I'm probably at an 8. I think what Zach said is right about the offense being able to keep up with just about anybody, especially when you have a defense as bad as Detroit's is. So I am worried about Matt Stafford. I am worried about our defense, but I think the Titans should be able to move the ball and score a lot of points against Detroit.
So, I mean, we're looking at this. We're seeing that the Texans have lost. We have swept the Jaguars, and we split it with the Colts. So we only have one division game left. And we can end up 5-1, and the first time in a long, long time, AFC South division champs. And I'll get to this question in just a second about the Henry gets 2K. But we are very close to locking up division champs. We need some help a little bit along the way, but I think we're fine, and I think it's in our grasp.
So
everybody
if they tie with the Colts at this point, they will at least tie in division record because they now have 4 division wins. That's as good as the Colts can do if the Colts win the rest of their games. So the very least, they will go all the way down to common opponents with the Colts now locking up the win today. So locking up a winning record in the division today. I mean, even if the backups play week 17, like the backups can beat Houston, I think. So I think they probably will finish with 5 division wins.
Well, they lost to the Jaguars. They lost to the Browns, if I'm not mistaken, right? Didn't they lose to the Browns?
The Colts?
Yeah, I believe they did.
Yeah.
So that's good. So it will come down to the Steelers game, which they have coming up next week, I believe. That will be a huge game.
Vegas scored, so maybe they win today.
I hate to say it, go Steelers next week. It hurts, but screw the Colts and everything like that. What does a division championship, Taylor, mean to this team and to its fan base?
Oh, I think a division championship means everything to this fan base. It's been so long since we've won a division championship, and I don't remember the last time that we won a division championship because I was either super young or when was our last division championship?
2008.
Yeah, I was 8 years old the last time we won a division championship. So this would be fantastic. Like, obviously, I don't remember that. I was 8. I mean, I probably watched it, but I didn't understand football when I was 8 years old, obviously. But this is a huge thing for the fan base, and I think it means a lot to the city, especially because it's been tough. It's been some tough seasons in there getting up to this point, and our fan base, especially the attendance of like home games and Titans fans, I think this would be great for that, to just grow our fan base and get more people in Nissan Stadium, to actually have like a full-on home game where there's not just visiting fans everywhere. That's what I think this division championship will do.
Yeah, it's going to do a lot, and it also shows the hard work and progress that this team has made under Mike Vrabel and John Robinson, and I think that goes a long way, especially in a year where, first off, there was COVID, no Jadeveon Clowney pretty much, no Vic Beasley pretty much. I mean, it was just no Taylor Lewan, and here we are sitting, at 9 wins and all that stuff. I know that Simp Biscuit says that he doesn't care for the division, but listen, as someone who has seen us been repeatedly beaten up on by the Colts and or the Texans lately, I am all about some division championship. Yes, it's a participation trophy kind of award, but it does mean that we have a home playoff game. It does mean that we have a chance to, depending on how the Steelers have a tough road, we could end up with a 2 seed.
And some of us bet on the Titans to win the South, okay, at pretty good odds.
Yeah, there's still a chance that this Titans team, I believe, can get the 2 seed depending on how the Steelers shape up these next 4 weeks, because they play the Bills, the Colts, and a couple of other people. That it's not an easy road for the Steelers, and we saw the Chiefs struggle today too.
Titans have to win all 3, and Steelers would have to lose because
it could
Steelers
happen.
Beat the Titans head to head.
Yeah, it could happen. I'm still holding out hope that it could happen. So let's talk about this. Derrick Henry, there was a question, what do we think the chances are that Henry gets 2K? We'll end on this note. We'll go around the horn. Derrick Henry has 1,532 rushing yards this season. He needs 156 yards per game with their final 3 for 2,000 yards. I'm not sure that he's going to get it. I would say he's going to hit under 2,000 yards, and I'm fairly confident in that. We saw that the Titans will pull him out when the game is out of hand. It doesn't look like they care as much about the rushing yard title and all these historical records as I thought maybe like a week or so ago. So I'm actually, right now, I'm going to go that he's going to hit under 2,000 yards. But that's your MVP. Justin, we'll go to you next.
I don't think he'll hit 2,000 yards either, and my hope is that he doesn't have to play the final game of the season so that he can really rest up and gear up for a big playoff run where we know the Titans will put the games on his back and count on him to carry them to success if they use the same formula as last year. But I definitely think he's going to win the rushing title. He's now well clear ahead of anyone behind him. I mean, even Dalvin Cook had 100 yards today, but Derrick Henry was already up by 67 yards, and he went for 215 today. So he put another 100 yards between him and Dalvin Cook today. So I definitely think he wins the title. MVP seems like a stretch, but you know what's not a stretch? Offensive Player of the Year. And they often give that award to the best offensive player who isn't a quarterback. Now, sometimes a quarterback who wins MVP also wins Offensive Player of the Year, like Patrick Mahomes did when he threw 50-plus touchdowns. But Henry can win this award, I think, if Aaron Rodgers or Mahomes gets the MVP.
Yeah, definitely Offensive Player of the Year, and that's essentially the same thing as MVP in my book. Greenlaw, we'll move to you. What do you think about what was the question I asked? 2,000 yards.
I think it's unlikely also. It would have been cool, though, to see, because last time it happened for the Titans was, 2009? And, the year before they won the division, JG wasn't born to see that. He wasn't born to see the 2009-2000 rushing season. So it would have been cool for him to be able to see a 2,000-yard rusher, but I think he'll get the division championship this year.
Oh, cool.
Okay, Taylor, take us home.
I don't think it would be a stretch to say that Derrick Henry could get the 2,000-yard mark. It's only that would be 156 yards per game in the next 3 games. I don't think that's out of his range, but I'd say it mostly just depends on if he plays the final week or not.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I definitely think that if anybody can do 156 yards over the next 3 games, it's Derrick Henry, right? I mean, you shouldn't bet against the man, but I just find it a little improbable. But that is it for the Sunday night roundtable. Thank you all for coming and all your input, especially Simp Biscuit, who is apparently our biggest fan. I don't know whose mom or dad that is, but we'll figure that out later. But thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Simp Biscuit, for always being in here. And I'm not being sarcastic; I really do appreciate it. But let me say this. I know that he says this year's playoff is going to be scary. AFC is loaded from 1 to 9. It is not loaded from 1 to 9. It is loaded between the Chiefs and everybody else. I think everybody else is on the same level playing field. So
good news, there's not 9 teams that make the playoffs. Only one.
That's true. That's true too. So BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Head over there. There's going to be a lot of post-game stuff that you're going to want to crack down on and see. We're going to have some gridiron grades, and we also Greenlaw, you write a column as well after the game.
Yep. I will have a 3 up, 3 down column coming soon.
I like it. 3 up, 3 down. We're going to have all 22. It's going to be all kinds of stuff. Taylor writes some articles. How are the Broadway bets doing today, Justin?
We missed one, and we got 4 right now that are live.
Whoa.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we real chance to
So
go
0 for
5.
1.
Yep. All
The
right.
chances are strong. Fade
Yeah.
the bets right now.
Okay. So
Okay, look, can we talk about this really quick? The Giants and the Bengals are two teams I picked +3 today. Both teams opened the game with fumbles on their first drive. Cincinnati goes on a fumble 3 times in a row. Are you kidding me? The Giants couldn't do anything. It's just...
And I believe
How
you
do you
told
fumble
everybody
so
to
much?
double down on your bad advice and put money on the Bengals money line too, right?
I said if you like the Bengals, maybe consider it.
Fade the Broadway bets. You will be a very rich person within a couple weeks.
Yeah.
For now, we'll see.
Yeah.
How
So
do I get-
head over to BroadwaySportsMedia.com. You can do $8 a month under the Heimerdinger Foundation. And if you fade all the Broadway bets, you'll make all that $8 back. So it's basically a free subscription at that point. I mean, it pays for itself. So for Taylor Gamble at Taylor R. Gamble on Twitter, for Robert Greenlaw at Rob on Broadway, for Justin Graver at Titans Film Room, I'm Zach Lyons at F-Words Pod. Sunday afternoon roundtable at Sunday night roundtable on Sunday afternoon. This meeting has been tabled.
Boom. Got him.